We'll hear from Randy.
My father's life was wonderful and long, but I can promise you that in contrast, my eulogy will be cut short. My father led by example. He was strong, yet kind and compassionate. He was confident without being egotistical. He was dedicated to a surgical profession, but always placed his family first. His love for the family and my mother was unparalleled. My father was a remarkable man who seemed to excel at pretty much everything. Well, maybe not canasta, where he had a propensity to go for sevens and aces. I chose my career in medicine because I wanted to be as happy as my father. I had the privilege of following in his footsteps as a doctor at St. Francis Hospital in Blue Island, where my father practiced for 45 years. I was able to enjoy many stories conveyed to me by nurses and patients in how my father was able to diagnose their problem and save their lives. My father made his last diagnosis when he woke up and stated, "I'm having a heart attack." Although his life could not be saved, his rapid diagnosis enabled the entire family to convene and share our love with him during this last week. My father taught me so many things over the years, but most importantly, that there's no strength without gentleness. There's no wisdom without humility, and no accomplishment without effort. My father truly led by example, taught me what was important in life. My father stated that this week that he had had the best life that anyone could ask for. His contentment is what we should all strive for in our own lives.
I'd like to start by saying thank you to Rabbi Catherine for flying here for Dad's funeral. Over the years, he always said he wanted you to officiate at his funeral. In fact, you were the very last person he spoke with just before he passed away. I held the phone to his ear, and your conversation with him was so comforting, both my dad and me. When I think of my dad, I think of how blessed I was to have this true gentleman as a father. He was a man who loved his family. He was the heart and moral compass of our household. He shared feelings openly. He rarely missed dinner with his family. He loved chocolate ice cream and Dove bars. Any dessert I baked, starting with my easy bake oven to much more complex recipes. He loved the Chicago Bears and golf. He passionately loved our mother, never wanting to be away from her. His love and respect for her was one of the greatest gifts that he gave his children. He enjoyed writing personalized letters inserted in birthday cards to my mom. I'd like to share the last one that he wrote in his beautiful penmanship. At the top of the page, it is dated 5/30/33, the day my mom was born. And next to that, he dated it 5/30/21, the day it was written. My dear Charlene, in 1953, when our eyes met, when you were coming down the stairs at 2710 Coyle, I said, "This is mine forever." 68 years later, I want you to know you still take my breath away with your beauty. On your 88th birthday, you are a great wife, a magnificent mother, an unbelievable grandmother. You can handle anything and everything. I want you to have many more birthdays in good health. I love you more each day and each year. I love welding with you. I also love the way you take care of our dogs. They love you so much, it's amazing. Happy, happy, happy birthday. I love you more than words can say. Where is that white shirt with the huge C on the heart? I guess that C transferred to my heart forever. Murray Robert Gordon. I used to look at this picture over here of my dad's hands when I was a little girl and marvel at their perfection. I was convinced that he was famous because this picture was used in a magazine. These hands literally saved thousands of lives. But to me, these were the hands that guided me through life. As a child, I knew the feeling of my small hand in his strong hand, especially as we walked down 6th Street to the beach on Tybee Island. These loving hands were there to pick me up if I fell. These encouraging hands were there to hug me in love and consolation and to applaud his approval. I will never forget that I held these still, beautiful hands as he took his final breaths. Nor will I forget that in that moment, I felt his thumb rubbing my hand to comfort me. Inside joke there. I can't believe I'm the third person to go. And so, how do you follow that? Dad, I inherited and learned so much from you. Luckily, I was the one to inherit those glorious hands with the long fingers that Jody spoke about. We always talked about Dad's hands because besides being soft, there was nothing he couldn't do with them. Whether playing sports, picking up a welding torch, or being such an accomplished surgeon. One memory I'll always have was a day of Granny and Linda's wedding, and my bridesmaid's dress arrived and was 6 inches too long. Dad got on the floor and sewed my hem with the needle and thread from the hotel room. He said, "There's no difference between an incision and a hem." Dad, I lovingly thank you for the thick eyebrows, the rather generous nose, the habit of always playing with my hair, shoes, and that crazy short baseball golf swing that no amount of lessons will ever correct. Dad tried so hard to make us good golfers. I could still hear his voice saying, "Charlene, you have such potential. Just didn't take the club back so far." Or, "Lori, bring that club up to the sky." "David, 80% swing." Or, "Jenna, you have the best swing. Why do you waste your time playing tennis?" Thank God for Adam, because he finally got himself a golfer. He always said he wanted to become Adam's caddy. And even last week when he was in the hospital, he was so excited to hear about Adam's chip in for the win at the Chicago Amateur Tournament. I must say that even at 94, he could still beat us around the greens. Golf is considered a gentleman's game, and Dad, you were the perfect gentleman. I'm going to go work on that swing for you, and I'm going to reach for the sky, just like you said. In the meantime, you, Father Vic, and Floyd Calvert can continue your Wednesday game again and get back to playing pranks on each other. Dad, I also mastered your love of sports, God help me. My earliest memory was Dad taking me to a Bears game at Wrigley Field to see a player named Gail Sayers, which I thought was odd that a girl was playing football. I think he truly believed that it was bad luck to come late to a Bears game, and you never leave early, even if it's 20 below zero, because he was so sure that the Bears were going to come back in the last 2 minutes. They never did. After the games, in which we ate our corned beef sandwiches, extra lean on rye, and Joey's brownies and hot chocolate, it was on to Chinatown for dinner at Cheyenne's for chicken dumplings and egg rolls. And speaking of food, as you've heard, boy did he love his chocolate. Those chocolate drop bars were an evening treat. And let's not all again chocolate conventions that we all enjoy. had a secret drawer in his office where he kept his secret stash, chocolate and licorice. The dentist's worst. His love of Savannah and days spent on the beach on Tybee Island were passed down to all of us. Notice today was a very typical Savannah weather day. Hot, humid, sun out, just looked beautiful. Other playing half rubber as a kid and bocce ball with a family, or walking the beach to visit his childhood friends. He was in his happy place. We all grew up on Tybee, whether riding the waves or making sandcastles or finding minnows in the tidal pools. I can still hear his voice warning us to beware of the undertow, stay away from the jellyfish, and to remember to put suntan lotion on the tops of your feet so they wouldn't burn when we went to collect shells. We didn't always listen, but he was always there to tend to our stings and our sunburned skin, just like he did with any other ailments we had. Dad, time will always be special because of you. I had the pleasure of practicing at Dr. Smith Clinic for the last 20 years of his career. My office was next door to the clinic, was next to the back door of the clinic that doctors used to get to the hospital. I loved that he would stick his head in just to say hi or drop off something that Mom wanted to give me. One of my favorite stories is when he came in while I was with a patient and said, "Oh, by the way, Laura Sue," always Southern drawl, "Laura Sue, I've got this food in the car from 4 days ago that your mom gave me. Do you still want it?" My assistant and the patient were completely disgusted, and then I said, "Oh, yes." I didn't realize that the boxes of matzah, and as we all know, boxes of matzah can last at least a decade. So, I cannot tell you how many patients would ask me, "Are you Dr. Gordon's daughter? You know, he saved my life. He saved my husband's life." I know Dad got great nephews that we shared patients in common, but how proud it made me to know that my dad had such an incredible impact on so many people's lives. My dad was so respected by his patients, and as the rabbi said earlier, and when he was running late after the surgery and the patients were fussing at the nurses for making him wait, he'd come in and say, and I'll do the Southern drawl, "Hello, darling," with his ever-present drawl, and the patients were no longer angry. Thank God for his wonderful nurses, Pat, Chrissy, Tina, and Jane, who he just adored. And Ellen, of course, there's no one he loved more than doing surgeries with you. There is no doubt that I tried to mirror my dad, who taught me how to treat each patient with compassion, dignity, and to listen to them as if they were your own family. It is one of the most important lessons I learned from you, Dad. And finally, from you, Dad, I learned the importance of loving life and family. Dad was truly the happiest person, his cup not half full, but overflowing. Every meal, the greatest meal he had ever eaten, even if it was just McDonald's. And as long as Mom was there, life was perfect. He had a beautiful singing voice and taught us how to listen back to cardinals in the yard. Imagine how it felt when I heard a cardinal sing to me the morning that he passed away. It was as if he sent that cardinal to tell us he was okay. He said something to Mom recently that she asked me to share with all of you. He said, no matter what happened, he wanted everyone to know that he was the luckiest man in the world. He had the happiest marriage, and he had everything he ever wanted in life. He said he did the best he could, and that he loved his family. Well, Dad, we love you right back and more. At the hospital, the nurse gave each of us a piece of this EKG strip so we could keep a little bit of his heart with us. Dad, I don't need a piece of paper to remind me of your heart and soul and love. You are always a part of me and within me and will be with me until we meet again. I love you, Dad. You're each my own.
Granddaughter Jenna.
next. Next break, I'm so excited about, Grandma's feedback. Thank you all so much for being here. Being the grandchild asked to speak for our grandfather feels like the greatest gift and honor that I could ever imagine. There's a Jewish text in the Mishnah that asks 4 questions about humankind. It asks, who is wise, who is mighty, who is rich, and who is honored? Having the chance to eulogize such a special person feels like an impossible task. Grandpa was the living embodiment of a mensch. Every person who met him shared how much they respected him and admired a different quality about him. Whether it was the impact he made on others through his surgery, his community work, his genuine generosity, the way in which everyone was the same yet different, that he showed to everyone in his life, his deep pride and love for his family, and the life that he was able to co-create with Grandma and for himself. However, this text so beautifully demonstrates the ways in which Grandpa embodied all 4 of these characteristics. This text begins by asking, who is wise? It teaches that one who is wise is one who learns from every person. Grandpa had so much wisdom. He lived an incredible life and had so much to share. He was a man of few words, but when he did speak, his words had reverence and were rooted in an integrity and the type of compassion that he lived out every day. Grandpa exemplified humility. He had so many incredible skills, and yet he found the greatest joy in the success of others. Emily shared that she recently went to the zoo and shared about this experience with Grandpa. She asked him, Grandpa, what's your favorite animal? To which he said, the lion, of course. The lion is the king of the jungle. Grandpa knew he was the king of the jungle and of the family. Yet, he lived his entire life making other people feel like they were the king of both his jungle and their own. For instance, he excelled in the field of medicine. Medicine was his deepest passion. But when Danielle went into medicine, he never told her what she had to do or pushed her or put any pressure on her. Rather, he led with love and let her create her own path. He would just call her and share funny memories and experiences that he loved about medicine. He just felt so honored that he could share the language of medicine with the next generation. And he knew that Danielle would make it her own. She is. The rabbis continue by asking the question, who is mighty? Their answer is that the one who is mighty is the one who subdues evil inclination. Grandpa never got upset, and he never raised his voice. Well, except one time. Jody and Danielle were in Florida visiting Grandma and Grandpa. Conveniently, a week after, we went and almost adopted a dog. And conveniently, Grandma took them to buy the new puppy store in town. Before they knew it, they came home with a fluffy white friend. Grandpa was furious. The next day, that fluffy white friend was with him in the backyard. Grandpa was sitting by the pool in his suit, pants, and dressed to the nines like he always was. That fluffy white friend jumped into the pool. She couldn't swim and started drowning. Not even blinking an eye, Grandpa jumped into the pool, fully clothed, wallet, phone, watch, and everything, and rescued Gigi. The one who became his best friend, and now will be meeting him one day when he reaches heaven. From that moment on, the most beautiful love was formed. Grandpa was able to turn any negative feeling and emotion into love. The next question the rabbis ask is, who is rich? According to the rabbis, the one who is rich is one who rejoices in his lot and enjoys the fruit of his labors. Grandpa was able to view everything as a gift, even if it was breakfast in bed from McDonald's. It was the best breakfast he'd ever had. As Kim phrased it, Grandpa was a co-creator with Grandma. They co-created a family, and they co-created an entire world that they brought us into. Grandpa brought us into his entire life. He gave us the gift of Savannah. It all began for him there, and he invited us into the relationships he built there, creating an extended family for all of us. His joy became our joy. Although it doesn't exactly fit into the rabbi's answer of who is rich, we too have enjoyed the fruit of Grandpa's labors. Our cousin relationships are just as powerful as sibling relationships because of Grandma and Grandpa. He wanted us to see the world, not just for ourselves, but through the eyes of our cousins, our aunts, our uncles, our parents, and them. They prioritized taking us on trips during which we all got to know each other. The fact that all 6 of us are present here, flying and driving in from all over the country, is a testament to the tight-knit family that Grandpa helped build. The final question the rabbis ask is, who is a man that is honored? Their answer is that the one who is honored is one who honors their fellow human beings. This feels self-explanatory, that with this definition, he is the embodiment of honor. As we sat with the body, we kept looking at his hands with Seth and imagining all the lives that he saved. Every person was so special to him. His patients weren't just patients, and he wasn't just the doctor. They were in deep relationship. We weren't just his grandkids, and he wasn't just our grandpa. We were so much more to him. Grandpa would call all of us gorgeous. He'd start his phone call to Danielle with, "Is this the doctor?" Or to me with, "Is this the rabbi?" He told me that when I became a rabbi, he wanted the first aliyah at whatever synagogue I was at for the high holidays, because it brought him so much joy. Grandpa was one of the most honorable men and people I've ever met. Adam recalls when we went to Normandy as a family. One of the tombs said, "Memories may fade and individual stories may shift, but people never forget how you made them feel." Grandpa made all of us feel special. Adam had the gift of sharing golf with Grandpa. They spent countless days on the golf course. Even days before his death, Adam was in a golf tournament. Grandpa kept calling to find out how Adam was doing. For the record, Adam came in 3rd place yesterday. Adam shared that he may not remember the exact conversations that took place with Grandpa, but the way Grandpa made him feel on the golf course was indescribable and something he will remember forever. And this wasn't unique to the golf course. Whether it was a round of golf, a phone call, a conversation in a hot tub, a holiday meal, and everything in between, we were the most important things in the world. At Idlewild, everyone would talk of Dr. Murray Gordon with a tone of reverence. Grandpa's care, generosity, and integrity garnered him immense respect. As beautiful and as profound as these rabbinic answers are, I think they were missing one important feature. The one that is the most wise, mighty, rich, and honorable is the one who loves. And loves absolutely unconditionally. Grandpa modeled and taught us what it means to have true love. The love that he shared with Grandma was unlike anything that exists in the world. They would go everywhere together, even the opera, which, as the cousins put it, was a very expensive nap. part of their love was that he took on Grandma's interests, and Grandma took on his. We once heard the story about how, you all have also now heard the story, about how he took on welding. And it was because he didn't want Grandma going to the welding class alone. And so he went with her. And from there, he became an artist. But he added his own unique twist. He used surgical tools. Grandpa taught us that unconditional love is about putting aside all preconceived notions and expectations. Seth and I both have loves that veered from the traditional expectation of who we thought he expected us to love. After years of fearing his response, we both separately had the opportunity to share our true selves with him before he died. Seth was terrified to introduce Grandpa to his fiancée. After all of this fear, when Grandpa met Vid, his response was, "Come here, my beautiful doctor." His final words to Seth were, "Give Vid a kiss for me." For me, it took 6 years to come out to him as queer. And finally, this past year, before Heather and I came home for Passover, Grandma shared my true identity with him. Without question, he said, "Amazing." He called me and left a voicemail, and when she said, "I can't wait to see you, and you know what? I'm even more excited that I get to meet Heather." He then called back and said, "This is Dr. Murray Gordon, and I just want you to know that I'm so proud of you, so proud of what you were doing, and that I love you." We were the luckiest grandkids in the world. We got to be loved. We got to love and be loved by the most incredible man to ever walk the earth. And we got to call him our grandpa. In the Torah, when the Jewish people were building the Mishkan, their sanctuary, the instructions that God gave were to build a sanctuary so that God could dwell within it. Grandpa, you taught us these values. You built us into a family, and now it's on us, the next generation, to create a sanctuary of love so that your memory may dwell within it. Love, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, and with thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Let's all sing it together one more time. Love, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, and with thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Thank you all for being here, and thank you, Grandpa, for giving us the best life.
I love your face.
Tradition teaches us that we are, each and every one of us, imbued with a divine spark. And in this way, we are capable of actions that transcend what we might expect of other living beings, that reach toward the infinite and the eternal. I share this because it is in this spirit that we should keep in mind the prayers that we utter. They are not simply hopes that we send off into the universe, wishes for what might be, but they serve as a kind of guide to us for our actions because of this incredible ability that we have. In a moment, I'll read the translation and chant express a hope that the soul of the departed will be bound up in the bonds of the living. This isn't simply an idle wish or hope. It is words, they are words that guide how we will behave. They will guide our actions. We've begun to tell the stories of Dr. Gordon's life, and will continue Shiva and beyond, day after day. And as we share those stories, he will be bound up in our lives. We'll discover new gifts that he has for all of us. We'll also come to know something else that we often say, which feels like hope or wish. May his memory be for a blessing. In sharing those stories, it will not be an idle wish, but indeed, we will come to know and remember always the way in which his memory of his life, his actions and deeds were truly blessings. Exalted, compassionate God, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure. Shine the splendor of the heavens. To the soul of our dear Murray Gordon, who's gone to his eternal home. Master of mercy, remember all his worthy deeds in the land of the living. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May his memory always inspire us to attain dignity and holiness in life. May he rest in peace. And let us say, now I will ask you to please rise. נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה. אם קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת מרדכי ראובן בן ג'ורג' ושילה שהלך לעולמו. בעל הרחמים יסתירהו בסתר כנפיו לעולמים. ויצרור החיים את נשמתו אדוני הוא נחלתו. וינוח בשלום על משכבו. ונאמר אמן. Be seated.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is my father, Seymour Beth-El, who's a funeral director, and his son Lloyd, and my wife is also with us. She's also a funeral director. Just want to say how honored we are to be selected by Murray himself to take care of the funeral. We want to thank his family. And the only bigger honor, my dad said, was when he was asked to take care of Gigi. At this time, in just a moment, we're going to take the casket from the sanctuary, and then we will be going to Beverly Cemetery for an entombment. For safety reasons, we're gonna ask anybody who wants to go to the cemetery to get a map and to go to Beverly Cemetery on their own. The funeral procession, we're just gonna have the family cars. But we will meet you at the cemetery, I would say it's approximately 1 o'clock. The service will resume. We'll start with the honors from the U.S. Navy for the service that Murray gave to us. The Shiva will be at the residence, at the Marcus residence at 29 Graywater Lane in the Olympia Fields, following the entombment today until 8 p.m., Monday from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m., and then on Tuesday it'll be at the Shaw residence, 130 East Oak Street, Unit 23A in Chicago. That information's in the programs that we've handed out. Following, been asked to act as pallbearers. Those will be son-in-laws Robert Marcus and David Shaw, and the grandchildren Kim, Emily, Seth, Daniel, Jana, and Adam, and also Josh Reitman. At this time, if everybody would please rise, and the pallbearers would please come forward. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Make your way to your cars.
I might go to our sister's church, right? Because I don't know if I can be my dad Tuesday night. I'll talk to him about it, but if I can't be there Tuesday, I'll go tomorrow night. How's your dad holding up?